In the quiet of night or the bright morning light, a story awaits to bring joy or delight. In English or Portuguese, come what may. For young hearts or old, let it sweep you away. On the banks of a river, surrounded by untouched forest along a winding mountain road, lives a kind old lady named Germania. With warm eyes and still full of energy, she has chosen to take refuge here, between bird songs and the scent of damp earth, sheltered in a delicate bubble from a restless, demanding world beyond. Seeking to escape the feeling of helplessness in the face of society's endless demands, she sought out this sanctuary, which also became the name of her inn, Haven Retreat. For decades, the business thrived under her steady and watchful care. Nowadays, Miss Germania prefers to spend her time chatting with guests, offering sweets to children, and sharing little roadside tales. Her stories, sprinkled with laughter and dramatic pauses, charm every listener. Each visitor leaves with a small piece of her wisdom and warmth, adding another layer to the cozy atmosphere of the place. From the very beginning of the inn, she says, leaning by the window as she speaks to a vacationing couple, I always needed help. People who at first were complete strangers to me. But over time, they showed me their true colors. Some I grew fond of, others I let go. She smiles faintly, eyes drifting to the horizon. Human beings are like that, she adds candidly. We select, we judge, we compare, and I'm no exception. There used to be two maids here, she went on. One was named Lorraine, the other Adelia. I liked Lorraine from the moment I met her. She was friendly, always smiling, and never short on conversation. Adelia, on the other hand, was quiet and serious. You could see the tremendous effort it took for her to deal with people or even answer simple questions. Her best phrases were good morning and good afternoon. Then one day I felt terribly ill. My children have always lived in the big city, which often forced me to rely on the kindness of strangers. That particular day I was lying in bed, unable to get up, wondering how I might get a bit of broth to set my stomach. Suddenly I heard a knock at the door. It was Adelia. She held a lovely little tray with flowers, herb-seasoned toasts, and a warm beef broth made the way only she could. I felt much better after that. She wasn't as good with words as Lorraine, but she was attentive, ready for a good deed. Germania pauses and then looks for the young woman before her. To love, my dear, that's humanity's great dilemma. Loving those who are near, she says, her eyes glinting. Simple acts of kindness aren't for just anyone, my dear. They are for the strong, young lady, for the strong. With that, she walks away, leaving her guests with a faint smile on her lips and a small piece of advice tucked away in their hearts. As the afternoon fades, the inn fills with a golden light streaming through the windows and spilling across the floor. Tired, Miss Germania settles into a seat facing the forest. She wraps herself in her beige cashmere shawl to ward off the mountain's chill and nestles into the sofa. Adelia knew that in these moments her employer sank into a deep introspection, as if the outside world simply ceased to exist. Even everything was gone, Germania would remain unmoved. Adelia had seen sadness hover over that solitary soul many times, and her heart swelled with compassion. A woman without a husband at her age is like a leaf in the wind, so vulnerable. So many years of struggle, her tender heart quietly weighing the thought. Adelia prepared Germania's favorite tea. She walked over, arranged some cookies, and set down a steaming pot of orange blossom tea. Bringing Germania back from her private world, she asked, "Ma'am, is there something you'd like to say? Do you need anything?" Germania looked deep into Adelia's eyes and let slip a spark of her thoughts. "My dear Adelia, do you realize that no one is perfect? Not even you?" Adelia couldn't understand why such a question had come up. Noticing her puzzled expression, the old lady began to tell her a parable. In one house lived two brothers, one strong and robust, the other frail and slight. The younger, being weak from an early age, believed that the best path was to seek reconciliation, to turn enemies into friends whenever possible. He also learned to accept his older brother to the fullest, even knowing his difficult temper. In this, he strived to be as perfect as he could, seeking what the great men of history had sought, excellence. In time, he came to understand that being true and perfect meant asking for forgiveness and owning up to mistakes, faults, and wrongs. The older brother would test him, provoke him, and take pleasure in watching him lose his patience, becoming irritated and upset. Yet the young was perfect in one thing: he would apologize. Not just for the sake of it, or felt physically inferior, or even because he wanted to be fair in his brother's eyes, but because he had a conscience to protect. Looking intently at Adelia, Germania asked, "Can you do that? Do you usually do that when you face your own faults, Adelia? Do you admit them?" Adelia, with a faint smile, said simply, "Madam, when I see you alone and deep in thought, I wonder how I might help you, and I even question myself, was it something I did that displeased you? I have tried to be as perfect as I can, sensitive to your needs, but flaws and imperfections are meant to be shown to us by those who truly know us. Yet, who has the courage to let themselves be known?" That reply struck Germania like a slap in the face. She knew her own cowardice. She spoke often and tried to be as kind as possible, but in truth, no one really knew her, and so her imperfections would never surface, not for herself nor for anyone. To Adelia's surprise, the lady opened a small window into her soul, admitting, I don't have that courage." Standing, she said only, "Good night, Adelia." That night, with her head on the pillow, Germania pondered how to overcome her cowardice and love Adelia, showing gratitude for all the years of companionship and care. That would be an act of bravery. She rose and sat at the old desk she had always used for accounts and payments, and began to write a letter, an attempt to allow herself, at least in part, to be known by Adelia. Dear Adelia, time passes and so often we grope through the days like the blind. We struggle to find motivation for the next dawn. You taught me not to give up, but to endure. You taught me that in the gentle presence of a friend lies life's unique and satisfying reward, and that everyone needs to feel cherished and important. You make me feel that way. Thank you, your friend always, Germania. That was as close to perfection as she would ever come. She recognized herself in the frail boy from her own parable, striving for excellence. With trembling hands, she did what only the strong can do. She transcended the limits of her harsh and impenetrable facade, allowing the light she had longed to let shine through, even at her advanced age. Combining courage and humility, she handed the letter to Adelia. As her friend read it, she felt a comforting gratitude. Years of careful probing into her meticulous employer, Germania, had been worth it. Her persistent efforts and constant patience had opened a small crack in Germania's hardened heart. From that moment on, their relationship grew stronger, weaving a bond of friendship and mutual respect that lasted until the very end of their lives. Hello everyone, my name is Anna Berg and it's a pleasure to share my stories with all of you. I hope you enjoyed and understood all the parts of the story. Since English is not my first language, I sometimes feel a bit insecure about the placement and correct spelling of certain words. If you like to point out any mistakes or share tips in the comments, I would be very grateful. All the stories you see and hear here on this channel are written by me. They are original and unpublished. I have many more stories to share, and one day I would like to tell you how I first fell in love with storytelling. The images displayed in the screen are sewed together in a single PDF file, but each one is separated so they can be printed individually. The link is in the description. They are a lovely resource for parents and educators to use with children. And I also plan to create printable PDFs with images from each story so you can enjoy the theme illustrations in different ways. And I must admit, it's a hard work but very rewarding to prepare all this for you. Bye until the next story!